Hey guys, I just thought I would do a quick video real quick about my story so far, where it is, how my writing's going, everything like that. Mostly for me, but really for anybody else who wants to kind of tune in, see how it's going, see what I do. Um, I have a major problem with my writing where I'll be in the middle of one book and all of a sudden I'll have this grand idea that I just have to start writing right then, right there. I have to start this new book. And so I start this new book, and then I never get back to the first book. My first victim was Magic in the Streets in high school that I had started planning out, and then through college, and now I have no idea where that story was going, but I have a binder full of planning for it, so maybe eventually I'll get back to it and turn it into something. This is my notebook that I'm writing in for now until I manage to fill it up. It has my little face stickers that I put on it, all of these animals, the horned toad, the bison, the owl, and the bat. They all used to have parts of their bodies that glowed in the dark. For most of them, it was their eyes. I believe the owl is the only one that still glows, and it's kind of creepy to just walk into the middle of a dark room and see these two glowing eyes staring at you from a coffee table. I put my plot a little bit, kind of very loose idea of the plot on the side of the notebook, just so it's there, and kind of because I got a little bit bored and had a Sharpie and just went ahead and wrote it down over there. So let's take a look at what my notebook looks like. First, I usually try to keep a calendar of days that I write, days that I don't write. I know it's almost February now, it's the very last of January. This was going to originally be September, October, and part of November to begin the NaNoWriMo in November, National Novel Writing Month. So my goal was September to write at least a page worth, which that was just so I could get in the habit of everyday writing something. And then, I had my little thing that if it was just there was no writing, circle it if I wrote something, and then put the X through the circle if I was at my goal of 1 page. Through October, it was going to be 2 pages. Maybe I changed it to 1 page. I wanted to go back to 2 pages. But by the time I made it to October, things had already come up. I'd started typing it. I stopped typing it. I started typing it. I stopped typing it. I was typing it. So my binder just fell over that I just showed you, standing up, just fell over. I guess it didn't want to be in the video. I have my little divider here, which, it's not a divider, it's just a piece of mail I got, but dividing the ties that bind from... Me and this binder are going to fight. Dividing the ties that bind from Vengeance. Vengeance is the one I'm working on now. It's the original series and the Jamie Coleman series. Ties That Bind is technically the second one, but it's the one I had the idea for first. I started working on it. I got so far into it that I was on chapter 5, the same place I'm on this one. I was on chapter 5, and then kind of realized that I didn't really know where the story was going. Not only that, there wasn't really any ties between the characters. There were backstories no one had. There were things that needed to be known about them. So I went back. I had the idea for the first one to get the backstories of the characters in there, their relationships. So that's what I'm working on now, is Vengeance, the first one with all of the backstory information. And I already have a bigger binder because this one's definitely going to be full. This is 5 chapters of one book, 5 chapters of the other. You can see a little bit of a mess in my floor. That's a towel down there because the dog decided to knock over a open 2-liter that I decided to set down for about 4 seconds on a table. So there's drink all over my floor now. Back to the book. I have some pictures that, a couple celebrities. I just get them from free sites online that offer the free photos. Just to have an idea. They're not included in the actual published book, but just to have an idea of the characters, what they look like. That way I know If I go back to Jamie Coleman, I can't describe her as having red hair on one page, blonde on the next, black in the next page, because I've done that before. Alan Sharpe, which I stole Alan Rickman's photo for, because he was the original character that I actually had in my mind. I had Alan Rickman in mind for this snappy, sarcastic detective. Kristen, Jamie's daughter, her little book bag, little cat face. Some short little descriptions on the side. The hair and eyes mostly is what I put there, because my next pages I have an actual short description. Their parents, their past accomplishments, their traits, their habits, their secrets, their best friend, what they actually look like, their scars, their height, their birthday, their nicknames, their full name. And I just do this mostly just for my major characters, the ones that I'm going to be writing about the most, the ones that I really need to be able to tie together the strongest. Just because if I say Kristen's birthday here is April 9th, I'm one of those people that on page 20, her birthday will be April 9th. On page 30, it'll be the 19th. And by page 40, she will have been born in September. So I had started out, I was really fancy. You see I have, my nice neat writing, chapter 1. This little fancy letter that I freeform drew by hand. It's making sure that my writing was very, very clean, very neat. This doesn't last long, trust me. Usually I make it to about page 3, and that's the end of this. Flip through a little bit, you see page 3. I did really good at keeping my writing pretty neat, making sure I wrote what I wanted to say until the start of chapter 2, when that happened. And then I changed it all over. Important names that I need to know that I'm going to be flipping back through, but I may not remember exactly what page the character first was introduced on. Or I may have only introduced them, for example, I may have only introduced him as Mr. Stauffer, but I may need to know later on that he is the shift lead of the store, and his first name is John as well. So, shift lead John Stauffer. Then just flip on through. You can see I have on the side, there's another one, Edward Eddie Samuel Hart. I may need to know his whole name later. I may not, but if I need to know it, I have it. You can see on the side some dates where I was starting to do that whole 1 page a day, 2 page a day, whatever, to keep up with what date the pages were for. But that devolved as I started typing it and printing it and putting in that binder. Handwriting got really bad there. I think I was actually writing this part in the car while we were driving somewhere. Some random things from a story game. You're supposed to make sentences out of words, and each word you put down has to be bigger. You have to be able to connect it. It was kind of a weird game. A short little drawing, basically, of my crime scene and the store that surrounds it. Because just like with the characters' birthdays, where I'll mess those up page by page, I may have the garden center, over here on this side of the page now, but come page 40 or so, the garden center will be over here. There'll be so many extra rows. There won't be any lights. I'll forget what's where, which side of the store is the crime scene on. So now I have it. It's right here. I know where it is. I can just flip back to here. Here's my crime scene area. Here's my cart returns, the little squares, the little circles. In the middle here are my lights, and then my main doors and the different sections of the store. So later on I have it. And then flip on through. Again, some of my dates, some little stickers I just had lying around, I put in there. Some little doodles of things that I may want to know what it looks like later on. This is a soda that Jamie originally thinks is a Coca-Cola because of the big fancy C and a red and white label, but it's actually Capricorn Cherry Cream. Some ideas, some planning. You can see here I wrote down the type of pen I was actually writing with because I liked it enough. I wanted to be able to remember which pen it was that did this writing, because I had so many black pens that wrote very similar. See up top, I have German Shepherd and the names. I have the name and the breed of the dog I need to remember. My handwriting actually got pretty fancy on this page. Really neat, really easy to read. I really liked it. I may need to go back to using this blue pen because using it made my handwriting a lot neater. Simply because I liked the way that it wrote when my handwriting looked like this. Here's the same pen where I wrote in my regular writing to see what that looked like. I didn't like it as much as intentionally taking my time. But I'm one of those, I'll just change through pens, change through colors, everything, just to see what I like, how I like it. So here's where I'm at now. I am on chapter 5, which I did have some of that printed out, but since I do want everything in this notebook at first, I am going ahead and handwriting those couple paragraphs that I had printed, because it's not that much work to go ahead and handwrite this page's worth of information back into the book. It's not really going to stress me out too much, and then that way I don't have to, well, chapter 4 is here, chapter 5 is over there in the binder, chapter 5 is over here. I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Everything is in this notebook, which is the goal. Keep everything in this notebook, so I need to know the layout of the store. Okay, well, go get it. I need to know Caitlin's last name. Okay, go get it. I need this. Okay, go get it. So it's all right there. Just flip back to it. And that's where I'm at right now. The rest of my notebook is blank. All blank pages waiting for me to write on it, except the end, where I did get a little fancy and write out the name of the book and everything, and tested out some pens to make sure they wrote. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going to get off of here, get back to writing, and maybe do another one of these later. We'll see how it goes.